PARPs use tons of NAD plus during DNA damage repair.
In this video, I'm going to be explaining DNA damage repair, the process, and how it uses up tons of NAD plus. Also, what B vitamin could also help this NAD plus. So make sure to like and share these videos with your friends and family to help to get these videos pushed out, because my goal is to fill in the gaps and missing pieces that many of the other YouTube influencer and YouTube health and biochemistry channels are actually leaving out. So I think that people need to know these missing pieces to help them improve their health. So there are these PARPs, PARP is how it's spelled. So it's short for poly ADP ribose polymerases. So they're a family of enzymes that act like DNA damage sensors and first responders. So they detect damage, and then the PARPs, especially PARP 1, because there are different types of PARPs, they constantly scan DNA. So these PARPs, they bind quickly to single strand breaks or other DNA lesions. So SSBs is short for single strand breaks. And once bound, the PARP becomes highly active. There is also a high consumption of NAD plus, because PARP uses NAD plus as a substrate. So PARPs, during the DNA repair of SSBs, they create this process called PARylation, and this is responsible for the recruitment of repair machine to repair DNA. And some of these proteins they recruit are XRCC1, DNA ligase 3, and other polymerases. So when the repair is complete, the DNA gets fixed and then the PARP detaches. Okay, here's where NAD plus is super critical and important, because one PARP enzyme can use hundreds of NAD plus molecules per damage event or per DNA damage. So with widespread DNA damage, PARP becomes hyperactivated, which means that PARP is going to use a lot and tons of NAD plus, because PARP activity is extremely NAD plus intensive. Okay, so heavy DNA damage will lead to high NAD plus consumption, and this can happen during oxidative stress, radiation, uh, toxins, possibly from liver damage, because the liver is responsible for clearing and dealing with toxins. So taking care of the liver can help reduce the amount of NAD plus that has to be used. Also, chronic inflammation can also create heavy DNA damage, and also including aging. So as you get older, more and more PARP or NAD plus is used during DNA damage. So that's why it's important to eat right and to eat healthy. So the result is rapid depletion of cellular NAD plus pools. Okay, so here's something else to keep in mind, especially as you get older or as you keep eating junk and a lot of processed foods. This can also affect your immune system, because if NAD plus runs low or is depleted, things can get serious. There's a collapse of ATP. So basically, that means that you're going to have a weak immune system, because as I've said in many of my other videos, the immune system requires tons of ATP for many different immune functions. So with low NAD, or NAD being depleted, um, there's also a reduction in glycolysis, because NAD plus is essential for glycolysis, and T cells, they also rely on glycolysis for T cell function, which is beyond the scope of this video. So here's why it's important to keep your NAD plus levels high, is because there will be even less NAD regeneration as a result of less ATP, because when PARPs keeps consuming NAD plus, because PARPs are trying to repair DNA, then cells they use up ATP when trying to resynthesize NAD plus. If ATP is used up by the cells, then there's going to be less ATP for the immune system. And if NAD plus becomes too low, then PARPs they become dysfunctional, and then DNA repair fails, and then leading to mutation accumulation and genomic instability, which are known to lead to cancer. If NAD plus runs too low, then that's going to lead to mitochondrial dysfunction or less mitochondrial function, because NAD plus is also required for sirtuins, and as a result of poor mitochondrial function, that leads to more reactive oxygen species, so which leads to even more DNA damage. So this is a negative feedback loop, because with more DNA damage, then that means that more NAD plus is going to be used by PARPs in order to try to repair the DNA. Now, the B vitamin that is a precursor for NAD plus happens to be vitamin B3, or in other words, niacin. Now, some of foods that are highly bioavailable in vitamin B3 are animal-based sources, such as chicken breast, turkey, beef, especially beef liver, tuna, and salmon. I've made many other videos on salmon, and then also eggs. Eggs contain choline, which can create TMAO, leading to heart risk. So a good way to reduce TMAO is with oranges. Oranges reduces TMAO producing bacteria. So that way you can also consume the eggs to get the B3. So a bonus tip on salmon is, so there's the cancer cells. They have the CRT, which is short for calreticulin. If the cancer cell hides the calreticulin or the CRT, then the macrophage or the other immune cells cannot see the cancer cell, and then the macrophage cannot engulf the cancer cell, or phagocytosis. So salmon consumption can help push out the CRT onto the surface of the cancer cell. Therefore, the macrophage will consume the cancer cell, because the cancer cell tries to escape immune attack or hide from the macrophage by hiding the CRT or internalizing the CRT, because the macrophage has to see the CRT on the surface of the cancer cell. So the salmon helps push the CRT out to the surface of the cancer cell so that the macrophage can see the CRT. So that's it for the video. If you're interested in more future videos, then make sure to like, comment, and share these videos so that people can get the missing pieces that the other YouTube channels are possibly leaving out or missing. And make sure to keep it locked in here on my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.